Thank you.
And we're back. Hello, family.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us.
Yes. Lesson 95. Take it away, sis.
I am one self united with my Creator. I am one self united with my Creator. That's a big one, isn't it? Today's idea accurately describes you as God created you. You are one within yourself and one with Him. Yours is the unity of all creation. Your perfect unity makes change in you impossible. You do not accept this, and you fail to realize it must be so, only because you believe that you have changed yourself already. That's the ego right there, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. You see yourself as a ridiculous parody of God's creation. So you see yourself as weak, vicious, ugly, and sinful, miserable, and beset with pain. Such is your version of yourself, a self divided into many warring parts, separate from God and tenuously held together by its erratic and capricious maker, to which you pray. He's talking about the ego, right?
Right, exactly.
It does not hear your prayers, for it is deaf. It does not see the oneness in you, for it is blind. It does not understand you are the Son of God, for it is senseless and understands nothing. Whoa. The ego understands nothing, and it's senseless. Wow. And it doesn't know who you are. Paragraph 3, we will attempt today to be aware only of what can hear and see and what makes perfect sense. We will again direct our exercises towards reaching your one self. He's speaking of the holy self, right? Which is united with its creator. In patience and in hope, we try again today.
So before we go into the practice instructions, just a quick recap that out of oneness, the tiny mad idea arose. And we thought, we fell asleep and dreamt the dream that what is one and will always remain one in God splintered off into separation, into billions of private minds in private bodies with separate thoughts, with laws of its own, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so we've learned to consider ourselves as this parody that he's describing. And yet yesterday, or the previous lesson, was that I am as God created me. And this one self with a capital S, that there's really just one Son of God, is how he's asking us to begin to consider ourselves. If I am as God created me, what happens to mythical me? The gap of separation, the one that I think that I've made as a replacement for the Christ itself that we each are, right?
Yeah.
It's
yeah. So just thank you. I'm going to work with you on this. Yeah.
Yes.
Something that was revealed to me by Jesus many years ago, stuck with me, is that mythical me, the personal self, that we're so terrified will be eclipsed entirely or annihilated, right? By the holy self. We're so terrified of that the sum total, Jesus told me, revealed to me, of that mythical me is just one simple thing, and that is the choice to suffer.
Mm. Yeah.
You know, like that was like, oh, what?
Mm-hmm.
What? Oh my God.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. That's what this false self is, is purely the choice to suffer. Because to choose to be separate from our source,
Yes.
and from our brothers and sisters is the choice to suffer. That's it.
Right.
That's it. So if we're afraid that joining with God is going to annihilate our separate false self, the only thing it's going to annihilate is the choice to suffer.
Yes.
So why the delay?
Great question, sis.
Do we enjoy suffering?
Apparently so.
It's very embarrassing, isn't it?
Yeah. It's the
There
addiction.
you go.
The addiction to think that somehow we can make it right, like overcome suffering at the same level that suffering arose, and you cannot. Yeah. And can you all feel into why that has to be, that this has to be suffering? Because if you wanted to separate from good, from safety and union, oneness, from love, from abundance, from peace, you know, the opposite of God is suffering. What's the opposite of love? Hate. What's the opposite of abundance? Scarcity. So this is right. The choice to leave or separate, it's an impossibility, but we're dreaming the dream, and the laws in this dream are just the opposite of God. So it is total suffering. It's crucifixion.
Yeah. And the other thing is, you know, this lesson 95, I'm oneself, united with my creator. Another thing pops up, and that is the belief, oh, I am unworthy.
Yeah, that's a fear. Big, yeah, way to
Okay. Whoa. Okay. Hang on. I'm oneself, united with my creator. What can we look at that too?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you're mythical me and the past, the ego will use that to say, well, if this is what I am, then how can I possibly be oneself? How can I be unified with my brother whom I hate? Or how can I be unified with a God that I don't know and I'm terrified of because of my past education about the nature of God, right? These are the ways in which we raise defenses against being that one self united with our creator. So we need to really recognize that, you know, as long as we're in the gap, the pluses and the minuses don't exist. And this is not, you know, time and space aren't. It's just an illusion. And only when we're willing to accept that our one self join with our brother in oneness, so that, remember, what's in the circle and what's outside of it are the same. So even this this line or this circle has to disappear, and that we're, you know, awakening to the peace of God and all the benefits that are there, right? Peace, joy, divine love, abundance, etc.
Sorry, sis, you're going to complete that, because I'm just hold that up for a second, if you wouldn't mind. I'm just hearing something.
Yes.
I think what happens is that if you could open it up a little bit, is that as we're awakening to the gap,
yes,
and we're looking at the gap, there's a very strong tendency to take personal responsibility for all of the shit in the gap.
Right.
I'm just being blunt.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, because the veil is starting to lift, and you know, we're looking upon all of this stuff, and then the ego rubs its hands together and goes, good, you need to take full responsibility for all of the shit. Right? Okay. It's your fault.
Right.
So it's real happy to turn the heat up on the idea that you are responsible for your sins.
Right.
It does not want you to know that there never was sin, ever, that you never, ever committed a sin, that you are changelessly, eternally innocent.
Right.
Right. And so, this is the thing, and you too, you've seen this with hundreds, if not thousands, of course students as they approach these stages of awakening. They get caught up in this whole idea that they need to purify themselves first before they can accept that they're one with their creator, right? And that is not the truth. The truth is that in any holy instant that we're willing to join God's will as God's will, it's done. We've got to remember that God's will is that we are already one. We've just temporarily forgotten it. That's what the atonement and forgiveness is for. In the instant that we accept the atonement, which is the undoing of fear, it's the undoing of the belief in separation. In that moment, we accept his will. In that moment, we are his will. He wills that.
So we don't have to clean this. We don't have to clean all this up first.
No.
Or purify the body.
No. And I'll tell you what, the spiritualized ego will spend 20 years trying to clean that shit up.
Because it wants to be part of the solution, right?
It does. Yes. And I am, what do you call it? How would you say it? I've experienced that.
Not me, no. I'm a professional.
Oh, you're too pure.
Yeah, that's really that's good.
Talk about a detour.
Yes.
Oh, thank you.
So it is in a deep dropping of the mythical me, the whole gap, the dropping of it. It's the turning away from it and claiming ourself where we are, how we are, and whose we are. I am one self joined. I am one. There's one self, and we are individuated aspects of that one Son, whose name is Christ. And and
that's it.
And the Father and Son, cause and effect, God and man, one in being. There's just one creation going on. So I am one self united with my Creator.
So I'm hearing something else right now, which is that there are some teachings, spiritual teachings, that teach to accept the human self.
Well, why doesn't that work? Why can't we accept the human self?
Well, we can't judge it. If we're going to judge somebody else, we're also judging ourselves, because once we judge somebody else, all attack is self-attack, wherever we see it, right? So the human self, mythical me, its job is to judge. In other words, its job, we ask the ego to project its belief that it is guilty and therefore deserving of death onto others to try and get rid of it. Right. Not realizing consciously that whatever we give away, we amass for ourselves. So if casting judgment out there on anybody in the past or present, or whatever, or on it, we're judging ourselves, right?
Okay. When I first really saw that, it was so clear that you can't think of another without thinking of yourself. You can't do unto another without doing to yourself. Hence, Jesus's rule, do unto others as you would have them do unto you, because it's the same. And if you're having a difficult time, imagine the person that you're dealing with and pin your face on their face. There's no difference. There's no way that you can escape your thoughts and your emotions by trying to place it out there on a brother, because that brother is still the one self. That's really, really big to let that drop in, that there is nobody else out there. You're only encountering, every encounter is holy because you're meeting another aspect of the self.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. And they're there for one purpose, which is to heal us. regardless of
Mhm.
the situation, right?
Right.
But let's get back to that question that popped up there about accepting the human self as ourself.
Mhm.
Because what I've found, is that to the degree that I accept the human self and try and love that human self,
Mhm.
right? And identify as that human self is the degree that I'm crucifying myself. So it's like a razor's edge. We can't judge the human self, the ego. At the same time, we need to be extremely vigilant
Mhm.
that that's not who we are.
Right. Right. Because judging it
Can't be
makes,
both.
yeah. As soon as you judge it, you've made it real because you've given it a value, but it's recognizing I'm not that. But do we throw the body out with the bathwater when we recognize it's all illusion? I mean, for a time, it's repurposed. When we give everything over to Holy Spirit goes, that body will make a fantastic communication device for the Father's will here in the dream to awaken the sonship.
Yeah, beautiful.
So there's no sacrifice. It's not like things are ripped out from under you. It's just everything's repurposed for love and not for fear. Yeah, that's a great point. We don't hate, we don't judge.
We don't condemn anything. We don't condemn the body. We don't condemn ourself, the human part of ourself. It's not about, it's being bigger than that. It's when we identify as the holy self,
Yes.
right? When we identify as the holy self, the light of understanding, the light of the world that we are, really subsumes the darkness of the human self. That's my experience.
Yeah. Yep. The mind that's projecting the body becomes whole and healed, and the body is used as a means for the light to enter into the dream.
Thank you.
It's a big lesson, this oneness, but it's our home, it's our natural state. You want to keep reading, sis?
Sure. We're up to paragraph 4, I think.
Yeah.
Oh,
Moving right along.
good. The use of the first 5 minutes of every waking hour for practicing the idea for the day has special advantages at the stage of learning in which you are present. I am one self united with my creator, right?
Mm-hmm.
It is difficult at this point not to allow your mind to wander if it undertakes extended practice. You have surely realized this by now. Giggle, giggle, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
We're not judging ourselves for that, right?
Yes.
You have seen the extent of your lack of mental discipline. Oh boy. And of your need for mind training. It is necessary that you be aware of this, for it is indeed a hindrance to your advance. Just to be aware of it,
Yes.
but not condemn ourselves because we're seeing it,
Mm-hmm.
Frequent but shorter practice periods have other advantages for you at this time. In addition to recognizing your difficulties with sustained attention, you must also have noticed that unless you're reminded of your purpose frequently, you tend to forget about it for long periods of time.
I don't know what he's talking about.
Yeah, right. What's my purpose again? Why am I here? Okay.
Cookies.
You often, right, just to watch cartoons. That's what it's all about, right? You often fail to remember the short applications of the idea for the day. And you have not yet formed the habit of using the idea as an automatic response to temptation.
Mm-hmm.
Structure then is necessary for you at this time. Plan to include frequent reminders of your goal and regular attempts to reach it. Regularity in terms of time is not the ideal requirement for the most beneficial form of practice in salvation. It is advantageous, however, for those whose motivation is inconsistent and who remain heavily defended against learning. God, I remember this. Just being shown in my memory. Oh, Lord. Yeah. Okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Talk about being heavily defended against learning. Okay. No judgment.
No.
Paragraph 7. We will therefore keep to the 5 minutes an hour practice periods for a while and urge you to omit as few as possible. Using the first 5 minutes of the hour will be particularly helpful since it imposes firmer structure. Do not, however, use your lapses from this schedule as an excuse not to return to it again as soon as you can.
I did that. Well, I blew that day's lesson. I'll just start again tomorrow, you know.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
I did that a lot. Okay. There may well be a temptation to regard the day as lost. Oh, Lord, I can feel it all coming up. Yep. Here we go. Thanks for your patience, everyone. I just have to laugh. Okay. So there may be there may not be There may well be a temptation to regard the day as lost because you've already failed to do what is required. This should, however, merely be recognized as what it is, a refusal to let your mistake be corrected and an unwillingness to try again. So basically, in going back in my memory, it's an unwillingness to accept forgiveness.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what it is. Because in that moment, we really deeply accept that. In that moment, the ego ceases to exist. Yay! Until we take it back up again.
That's it.
Paragraph 8. The Holy Spirit is not delayed in his teaching by your mistakes. How cool is that?
Thank God.
He can be held back only by your unwillingness to let your mistakes go.
Yeah. Yeah.
Can you get that?
Oh, fully. Just
right?
keep, judging yourself. Now we're using the workbook lessons to judge ourselves, to keep us guilty. The ego will use anything it can. And
all that bloody judgment against ourselves, I could have saved myself years if I only knew this. Yeah. All of that self-judgment is simply the ego using that self-judgment as a delaying maneuver, right? Because it thinks that if it can delay you from forgiving yourself, accepting the atonement, then it doesn't need to disappear quite so quickly.
And let's just call it what it is. All delay tactics, you guys, of the ego is that ultimately, sorry to be the poop in the punch bowl, but it's to kill the body off before you awaken. It's using time against God. It's using time against your holiness. So all delay that's what it is. Let the clock wind down and out.
Exactly. That's what it's for. Yeah. Let us therefore be determined, particularly for the next week or so, to be willing to forgive ourselves. I'll say that again. Take a deep breath. I am willing to forgive myself for believing and siding with the ego's delaying maneuvers, right? So be willing to forgive ourselves for our lapses in diligence and our failures to follow the instructions for practicing the day's idea. This tolerance for weakness will enable us to overlook it, which means to forgive it, rather than give it power to delay our learning. If we give it power to do this through self-judgment, right, we are regarding it as strength and are confusing strength with weakness. My prayer for you is that you get this quicker than I did. Okay. When you fail to comply with the requirements of this course, you have merely made a mistake. That's it. This calls for correction and for nothing else. To allow a mistake to continue is to make additional mistakes based on the first and reinforcing it. It is this process that must be laid aside, for it is but another way in which you would defend illusions against the truth. Can you feel that? Can you feel that? You know, when the temptation comes up to judge ourselves, we've got to go, no. Okay? I accept my holy self as only God created me. That's it. Nothing else. Just as God created me. So that's it. I am one self united with my Creator. I cannot be anything else. It's impossible. Okay. Paragraph 10, let all these errors go by recognizing them for what they are. They are attempts to keep you unaware of your one self, united with your Creator, at one with every aspect of creation and limitless in power and in peace. This is the truth, and nothing else is true. Today, we will affirm this truth again and try to reach the place in you in which there is no doubt that only this is true. No doubt, right? Because, and we'll talk about this more later, because if there's any doubt at all, it's always the ego's self-doubt. It's not you as God created you. So begin the practice periods today with this assurance offered to your mind with all the certainty that you can give. I am one self, united with my Creator, at one with every aspect of creation, and limitless in power and in peace. Wow, what a prayer. Woo. Then close your eyes and tell yourself again, slowly and thoughtfully, attempting to allow the meaning of the words to sink into your mind, meaning into your heart, not just intellectually, right? Replacing false ideas. I am one self. I am one self. Yeah. Repeat this several times and then attempt to feel the meaning that the words convey. Sis, I'm going to let you read the rest.
Okay, all right. So staying in that feeling place.
Yeah.
You are one self, united and secure in light and joy and peace. You are God's Son, one self, with one Creator and one goal, to bring awareness of this oneness to all minds, that true creation may extend the allness and the unity of God.
Wow.
You know, in our family on TTC and HRJ and our groups, it's so beautiful because you can feel spirit sweep through the room and you listen. And a lot of times I used to close my eyes all the time, and I'm opening them more, but I'm recognizing that the spirit is speaking and that somebody else is speaking truth and love is being expressed and shared, and that's my identity. I'm feeling and witnessing, and the feeling state that the one self is expressing. It might look like it's coming through these mouthpieces or bobbleheads in a Zoom room, but that's me. I'm one with that. And
Yeah.
that, and the impetus, the intelligence behind that is God.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's enough to crack our heart open.
Oh,
Right. Right there, right then. Just when we see that, when we see there's no separation,
yeah,
that we are one self.
right. And only love, the wanting to join with another, when the motive is love,
Yeah.
that's the only way to know that we are one self.
Yeah.
Nothing other than love will do it, but love does it. The love that you experience is the proof that we are that one self.
Yeah.
Oh, I love this. You are one self, complete and healed and whole, with power to lift the veil of darkness from the world and let the light in you come through to teach the world the truth about itself. You are one self, in perfect harmony with all there is and all that there will be. You are one self, the Holy Son of God, united with your brothers in this self, united with your Father in his will. Feel this one self in you and let it shine away all your illusions and your doubts. This is yourself, the Son of God himself, sinless as its creator, with his strength within you and his love forever yours. You are one self, and it is given you to feel this self within you and to cast all your illusions out of the one mind, which is this self, the holy truth in you. Do not forget today. We need your help, your little part in bringing happiness to all the world. And heaven looks to you in confidence that you will try today. Share then its surety, for it is yours. Be vigilant. Do not forget today. I can feel his great need of us and all the love and patience bringing us the course and his perfect love for us. Could we not at least give him this and thank you?
Yeah, I'm really feeling it too.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Throughout the day, do not forget your goal. Repeat today's idea as frequently as possible. And understand, each time you do so, someone hears the voice of hope, the stirring of the truth within his mind, the gentle rustling of the wings of peace.
Oh boy. Oh, sis, that's just cracked a memory for me. Oof. Oh my Lord. Brought up a lot of emotion too. Wow.
Yeah.
Mm.
You want to share it?
Can I? Are we gone? Have we gone over time? This is a very long lesson. I'm going to try and condense it then. Ooh.
You want me to finish this paragraph off and then you share?
Yeah, good idea.
Your own acknowledgement you are one self, united with your Father, is a call to all the world to be at one with you. To everyone you meet today, be sure to give the promise of today's idea and tell him this: you are one self with me, united with our Creator in this self. I honor you because of what I am and what he is, who loves us both as one.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you, sis. Thank you for joining. Thank you, beautiful family, for joining us in this. Yes. We have no idea the impact that one genuine second of dropping into our heart and really accepting this can do. We have no idea through the limited ego of how much light floods in, not just into us, but through us to others. You know, we have no idea. Through the ego, we have no idea. And I'd just like to share an example of something that happened. And, you know, I'm fairly sure, I'm not certain, but I'm fairly sure it was this lesson that I was doing at the time. And I think I probably physically in the dream was in Belgium at the time when this event occurred. And I do remember joining with Jesus when he, when he was giving us this message, right? And I remember breaking down and crying, going, I want to help to heal the world. I don't want my brothers and sisters to be in suffering any longer. I mean, I really was on my knees with that, and that feeling of wanting to join everyone. Yeah. And that night I had a very, very real dream, like seemed to be extremely real, almost a visionary dream. In fact, it probably was a visionary dream. And I didn't understand it at first, but as it unpacked itself, the impact of the dream really landed. And what it was in the dream, I saw two things occurred. First, I heard the sound of what seemed like soldiers marching, right? So I heard that sound, and it was the sound of thousands and thousands and thousands of soldiers marching. The second thing I recall was these huge gates, huge, brilliantly lit, but not by a false means, not by, it was lit from the inside. The gates were lit from the inside, all right? Everything was at first grey and then came to life in vivid colour, colours that I guess the human senses can't understand and can't really see. But in the dream that all came alive, I was hearing these soldiers marching. And then the next thing that happened is I was hearing the sounds of rejoicing. So there was much partying going on, right? Like mega rejoicing. And I was, of course, curious. What is going on? I had the feeling of grace. Grace had overtook me, you know. So I was in a state of grace, but not in a state of understanding what was going on. So I was watching, and I noticed that I was on one side of this humongous, surreal gateway, and that these soldiers were walking towards the gate from the other side. So they were coming towards me. And when I actually saw them, my heart just burst open. I realized I was one with them. I really was one with them. And as they marched through the gate, they were throwing their hats up. You know, it was victory, like major, major victory, state of grace. They were also in a state of grace, these thousands and thousands of soldiers. And as they walked through the gate, I was brought to my knees because they were thanking me. They were thanking me. So it was revealed to me in that moment that what I had done in my simple life was to join in forgiveness. They had accepted that forgiveness, and it felt like the world was healed. That's what it felt like to me. And all that came from this lesson. So I'm cutting the dream short, but I'm just sharing with you.
Yeah.
That the impact was huge. And really, in a way, it wasn't a dream. It was truth. Of course, it's a dream, but there was a massive, massive healing. Just because one person had accepted the atonement to that degree.
Yeah.
Thank you for listening.
No, so thank you. You know, I had that one similar coming through the jungle out into the light, and the people were waving and all that, but not important. But what's amazing is what I could feel is that when you looked at the soldiers coming through and you realized that they were part of you, one with you, and that they were thanking you for healing their mind because you had done it, you know, you can feel like that's the whole point of this transcending a selfish, privatized mind. And that in the great love for the sonship, recognizing that's me, he's me, she's me, we're just all one self. And selflessly healing my mind so that we can come back together in that union. You know, and what's the incentive for all of that? Again, it's love.
There's nothing higher than that. There is no experience in this dream. Nothing that can even touch the hem of that.
That's it.
That's it. Oh my God. Talk about joining.
Thank you.
Talk about union, and talk about celebration. I mean, all the angels in heaven were celebrating. Yeah.
It becomes unbearable to be separated from the sonship when you feel the love. You just want the love, and the love grows and expands, and you know that's home and that's truth. And then to go back to a compartmentalized, privatized, limited, squelching sense of self is not. It's unbearable, the stress and strain, and so highly unnatural. It's the opposite of what the ego tells us. So thank you for staying. If you're still with us, I just want to thank you. I hope that you were able to join and receive the transmission, and I trust that you have. And we just want to thank you for your patience in unpacking these. We could read right through them and we would miss the holographic, the deep feeling state of these lessons. And that's what we want to convey to you. So if you stayed with us, thank you. And we love you and appreciate you very much.
Yeah,
As
thank you.
oneself.
That's it, sis, isn't it? It's joining at the heart level. Even if the mind doesn't understand.
Yeah.
That's the miracle. Thank you. Thanks for staying with us.
This lesson has now been fully given.
Yeah. And received. It can't be given unless it's received.
Yeah, I'm feeling the blessing that you all provided me so that I could unpack this lesson with you so that I could receive it for myself. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Bye, everybody.